Hi, and welcome back to Map the Maze. So today, instead of sharing something that I've read or seen, I wanted to share with you some of the observations from students that I have been working with for the last couple of weeks. Adrian Au of Tanner DeWitt and I organised a family mediation competition for Hong Kong. So it's the first of its kind, and that has been a journey, which I guess I could talk about in another video. But I wanted to share some of the observations from the students who experienced the family mediation role plays. These are role plays where they're pretending to be a husband or a wife, and the other student is pretending to be a lawyer. The first observation, I think, from all of the students was the complexity. That even though this is a role play, even though they're not really husband and wife, they're not really emotionally engaged with what is happening, the complexity of it was overwhelming. I think for all of the students that I saw and spoke to, that the complexity in terms of the arrangements, children, the emotional, psychological impact, the financial details, the law, the specifics of each case, the having to combine all of that into a negotiation strategy was overwhelming. So I think what I would say is, if you are for real experiencing divorce and separation, not just a role play, then cut yourself some slack. It is complex. It is difficult. It can be overwhelming. My belief as a mediator is that there are better ways to do this, that there are simpler ways, that there are ways that you can make your life easier. But on a very human level, it is overwhelming and complicated getting this done. The second observation is that negotiating is hard. And I think that was something that was interesting for the students to experience. So some of them are definitely more used to negotiating, I think I would say in a kind of distributive, hard bargaining kind of way. And they struggled to negotiate in a mediation. And when I say that, it's something that people often say to me when they come to intake. They'll say something like, the other person negotiates all the time for work. I'm really intimidated because they're going to be really good at negotiating and I don't negotiate. I guess what I would say is, in mediation, this is a different type of negotiation. And so when people say the other person does this all the time, they may negotiate all the time, but they're probably doing what some of the students did, which was do this in a distributive and positional way. It's the hard bargaining you might do in a marketplace. So everybody, from my perspective, generally comes into mediation negotiation on a level playing field. Nobody really knows what is happening, and nobody really understands how the negotiation in mediation works until they've done it. The third one was just the newness of the world, that everything was overwhelming. So one thing that was similar, I think, to real people is that most of these students have never studied family law. So they were coming to this fresh. So often they would use a word which is maybe a technical word, but not correctly, or they wouldn't know the technical word to describe something. All of the professionals in the room obviously were like, I think the word you're looking for. But it was also a good reminder, I think, for the professionals in the room who were acting as judges and mediators, that this is an overwhelming world for most people, that the jargon that's used, this is the first time, and I've just had that reminder this week, working with people. This is the first time people have had to sit down, negotiate in this way, look at information about their lives, whether that's finances or children, in this way. And so all of that can just make it really tough to get done together, when at the same time you are emotionally engaged with what's happening. You may not be at your best. Typically, I think all family law professionals just expect that they're not seeing their clients at their best, and that it can be a lot to be on the plate. So whether it's the complexity, it's just negotiation is hard, or the newness of this is for a lot of people a one-time shot. All of those things combined make it difficult. And honestly, made it difficult for the students. Having said that, I think they all learnt a huge amount. So even if they didn't progress to the later rounds, I think there was a lot of learning in terms of what it is to be a human, maybe what it is to be in a difficult relationship, maybe even what it is to be a professional working in this area. And for the professionals who came to judge and mediate, and some also acted as coaches for the students, what I saw, which might be hard for many of their clients to imagine, was a lot of enthusiasm and excitement about being able to share this area of the law that they've dedicated themselves to. It's probably not what people would expect, but I think seeing the students and getting to mediate them and judge them was actually really fun for the professionals, that they all went away feeling that they had done something worthwhile. Because one thing that may come as a surprise to a lot of clients, and maybe this isn't how you feel, but I would say most of the people I work with, most of the family law professionals, whether that's solicitors or barristers or former judges, are in this area, do this work because they actually genuinely care about families. And we may not always get things right, and we may sometimes be off on a wild goose chase, but the general ethos for most of the people I work with is, I want to do this work because I want to help families come out of conflict. And I think that would probably be quite a surprise for a lot of clients, that is the motivation for people to do this work. It's certainly not for an easy life, I can say that. So, a couple of observations about the competition. Big question, do we do it again? To be determined. I think we all had such a good experience, and the students were really appreciative that there is a real feeling that we could do it again, but who knows? So anyway, stay tuned.